Hello and welcome to Economics Unit 4. This video is all about aggregates. Aggregates are a whole formed of several different parts, several different elements. Effectively, we are talking about macroeconomics, big picture kind of stuff, states, countries, continents even. And one way to determine how your country or any country is doing compared to all other countries is by comparing gross domestic product, otherwise known as GDP. This is how you rank countries. The more gross domestic product your country has, that means you have a higher total dollar value of all final goods and services produced in a nation in a single year. Because the more a country is producing, that's a sign that there are people buying what's being produced. So if a lot is being made and a lot is being bought, that means financially that country is doing fairly well. Countries that have low GDP are not doing very well. If they're not producing much, it's either because people can't or are unwilling to buy those products, which means they're going to produce even less, and it can actually cause a bit of a death spiral. And just to be clear, domestic means in your home country. Whenever you hear that word domestic, that means like at home. So inside that country's borders, what's being bought and sold. So first up, let's talk about aggregate demand. So demand, you already know, is buyers' decisions. How much of a product or service are people buying? Well, aggregate demand is measuring the total of all planned expenditures in the entire economy. In plain speak, that means how much are people buying of everything, not just one thing like CDs or milk or anything like that. How much are people buying, period? If people are spending a lot of money on stuff, whether it's stuff they need or don't, whatever, doesn't matter what it is. If they're buying a lot of stuff, that means financially they're able to. They feel they have the ability and means to do so. One tool to help determine that is the Consumer Price Index, or the CPI. It's a statistical measure of the average of prices of any kind of groups of goods or services purchased by consumers in any given city area. So you'll combine the CPIs of many different cities to get an idea of how demand is going. Now, this is in average. There's going to be exceptions, especially in really small towns. They may not quite fit into some of these statistics. But again, we're looking at big picture, not individual pictures. So it's not going to be 100% accurate. You're just trying to see, are people in general doing well financially? Are they able to purchase things they want and need to purchase? On the other side is aggregate supply. Aggregate supply is the measure of domestic output of producers based on the rise and fall of the price level. So how are suppliers doing? Are they producing a lot of stuff? That's a sign they're doing well. Are they holding back? That's a sign that they're not doing well, or they're afraid that they won't do well if they keep producing at their old levels. The tool that you would use in this measurement is Producer Price Index, PPI. This measures the change in price and over time that producers are charging for their goods and services. So measuring what they feel their products are worth or what they can get away with charging. In both aggregate demand and aggregate supply, there is something known as inflation, which is the rise in the price level of goods and services over time. Now, this sounds like a bad thing, but for the most part, inflation is not a problem. Things do get more expensive over time, but then people make more money over time. The numbers that you make per hour will go up over time on average across the country. The reason why we watch inflation anyways is to make sure it doesn't outpace what people are earning. This has been happening over the last 15-20 years. Things have been getting gradually more expensive, which is okay, except that people aren't making more money to match that. And that's causing a lot of the financial and economic crises that we've been dealing with the last 15-20 years. So because inflation and many other things that can happen in an economy can hurt and help people so much, there are a number of signs or indicators that the government and economists will look for. The first is a leading indicator. Leading indicators are the types of indicators that signal future events. Think about a traffic light. Before a red light comes, you see a yellow light. That lets you know that a red light is coming soon. You may not know exactly how soon, but soon it's coming. That's what leading indicators are. These are difficult to read. They could be things like bond yields, interest rates changing, how many bonds are being sold or not sold. These are all leading indicators. Then there are coincident indicators. Coincident indicators are indicators of what's happening right now, not in the past or in the future. This is what's happening right now. So going back to the traffic light, this is the green light. This is telling you right now, this is what you need to be doing. This is what's happening going forward. An example of this would be personal income. Personal income is high, then you know right now people are doing good. That may not tell you about the future, it may not tell you a whole lot about the past, but tells you right now things are going well. And finally, there is lagging indicators. Lagging indicators are like the red light. The yellow light warned you something was going to happen, and the red light confirms it's happening now. I gave you the warning. Now this is happening. That's a lagging indicator. For example, unemployment. You might have seen things happening that were giving you signs of unemployment, but maybe it wasn't happening yet. But once it starts happening, that's a lagging indicator. That's a sign that something in the past is causing something right now. That's different than a coincident indicator, in which case that's something that's happening right now causing something right now. Lagging indicators are something from the past that are affecting the present. This is, again, another very, very complicated topic. This is probably the most complex one we've covered or will cover in this class. If you have any questions, let me know in class. Thank you.